Okay, so now we watched the lesson, or the beginning of the lesson. It was just sort of a very short 6-minute little thing. And she used she was explaining how to use the Frayer model. And in here, I can show you how she uses the cards. Now, in the back of your packet, you have a list of the words. There's a list of words. And if you use that list, you can just enlarge them a little bit and then cut them out and put them on index cards, which works really well for, and then what I did was that each envelope, I just put the level on there and then the cards, and I used different colors for the different cards so that, you know, all of the level 2 cards are yellow, all of the level 1 cards are pink, and that way you don't have to worry if they're getting mixed up, okay, because they're, so. Basically, the levels are, you know, pretty much the competency of your students. You have to sort of know them, know whether or not they should be getting the level 1, level 2, or level 3 cards, depending on what their skill level is at. Okay, so they would use these to generate questions and to think about the text that they've read. Okay, and as she said, with the Frayer model. They would look at what they had written and generate questions based on what they learned and what they might want to know a little more about. Okay? In the next lesson, you're going to see what she actually does with the questions and how the students use them to learn more about what they're. Okay? Do you have any questions about this so far? Anything?
No, it's very straightforward. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right, so we're going to answer the questions. Because I asked you to read the 3 questions. How does Mrs. Francisco use Bloom's taxonomy to help students write questions? And then what can you learn from Mrs. Francisco about teaching multiple strategies? And how does she encourage students to use their personal reaction? Okay, so do you have anything that you'd like to, did we come up with anything at all? First question, second question? How did she use Bloom's taxonomy? Do you remember? The cards.
Right.
Okay? These are all leveled in the for Bloom's taxonomy to help to generate higher level thinking. Okay? So each one of these is done that way.
How are they used?
They would look at the questions. Well, this is a strategy that you're going to have to teach each one and get them to understand how to look at them. And so if you were going to have a question, you were reading your book and you want to make an observation. So the word is observe. So what kind of an observation can you make about the story that would generate a question? So each one of them is sort of a generating.
The objective of this system is to get the students to generate questions about the books.
About the books, okay? Because the more questions that they ask, the better they'll dig deeper into it and get to know the story better, okay? And then as we move forward, when you see the next lesson, she's actually going to have the students ask each other questions. So they're all reading the same book. So, you know, the one student's going to say to the other, they're going to write them down, they're going to spend a day writing down questions, and then they're going to trade them. And then they're going to have to think about that.
Right.
So if you have a student who's a higher level student, and their questions are a little higher level, that's really good for the kids who are struggling at asking questions, because then it generates more thought for them.
All right.
Okay, you understand that?
Yes.
Good. All right, so we did our questions, let's move on. Okay, so you looked at the Frayer model, which is our next one. So you have a blank copy there too, so if you want to use them and make copies of them in your classroom, you can use that copy that you have there. That's why it's blank. And then I have student examples. So these are the examples of what the students wrote in her class. These are the actual examples of what the students wrote. So if you want to read through that, you can get an idea of how they've been thinking. They're reading a story about slaves in the South, and I've never read the story, so I'm not really real helpful with exactly what's going on. but they had to come up with a definition based on what they've read. And they had to, you know, use all 4 points. Okay. So discuss with each other what you think about this. If you can see any 2 positive things and maybe 1 negative thing, if you can come up with anything that would be, you would be able to talk about, okay? Because another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about was getting your class to talk to each other and work together. And there's a strategy called Think, Pair, Share. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but basically you ask the questions of your class, they think in their mind what they would answer, and then they share with a partner what their answer might be before they actually raise their hand and present it to the class. And that is very helpful for English language learning students and for students who are lower. That gives them an opportunity to sort of voice what they're thinking before they actually bring it out to the class. Okay? So I'm going to give you some time to work on that, think about your questions, and then I'll come back to you. Okay?